Good day, learners! Welcome to another fun time of learning science. It is me again, Teacher Gab. Join me as we continue our discussion on living things and their environment. And today, we will focus mainly on fossil records as evidences for evolution. Just keep yourself alert and awake, and also your pen and paper ready.
First, let us set the learning objectives. At the end of the video discussion, you are expected to: number 1, explain how fossil records provide evidence for evolution. Number 2, explain how geologic timescale and carbon-4 dating can be used in determining the age of fossils. Number 3, recognize the importance of fossil records as evidence for evolution. Before we proceed with our discussion for today, let us have first a recap of what we have learned last time. Write letter T if the statement is true and letter F if the statement is false. Number 1. Mutation is a change in the base sequence of DNA. Number 2. Chromosomal mutations are changes where parts of the chromosomes are broken and lost during mitosis. Number 3. Down's syndrome is not an example of mutation. Number 4. Mutation does not affect the growth and development of an organism. And number 5. Genetic code is a set of rules that specify the codons in DNA or RNA that corresponds to the amino acids in proteins. And now, let us check your answers. Number 1, true. Number 2, true. Number 3, false. Number 4, false. Number 5, true. If you get a highest score, that's great. And if it's not, that's still okay. Shall we proceed? Try to observe this picture of different species. Which pairs of species are most closely related? Did you guess it right? Okay, the first pair of species that are most closely related is the short-beaked echidna and the platypus. These are both egg-laying mammals. Second pair of species that are most closely related is the lowland tapir and the black rhinoceros. Both of these are odd-toed ungulates. Next pair of species that are most closely related is the North African crested porcupine and the American beaver. Both of these species are called rodents. The next pair of species is the African elephant and the rock hyrax. Both of the African species belongs to a group called the Afrotheria. And the last pair of species that are most closely related is the blue whale and the moose. Both of these species belongs to a group called the Cetartiodactyla. What does the activity tell us? You are right that some organisms may look the same, but they are totally different from one another. And other organisms may be related to one another, but they have different physical features and characteristics. Why is there so much differences among organisms? Right, it is because organisms inhabiting the earth change over time. Their structures, traits, and abilities allow them to adapt and survive in their environment. Species evolve over time and naturally become different from one another. The process responsible for the creation of the incredible amount of individual differences on Earth is what we call evolution. For this lesson, we will be studying the complex process by which the characteristics of living organisms change over many generations as traits are passed on from one generation to the next. There are different evidences for evolution. like fossil records, comparative anatomy, and genetic information. Are you familiar with the movie entitled Meg? Or did you watch the news last July 2020 about a megalodon tooth found in Maribohok, Bohol? Megalodon, or with a scientific name of Carcharodontus megalodon, is a member of an extinct species of megatooth shark that is considered to be the largest as well as the largest fish that ever lived. A megalodon tooth found in Bohol is an example of fossils, and one of the sources of evidence for evolution is the fossil records. Fossils are the traces of organisms that lived in the past and were preserved by natural process. Fossils are important evidence for evolution because they show that life on Earth was once different from life found on Earth today. They can be the remains of organisms which include shell, teeth, bones, and also fishes embedded in rocks, peat, resin, and ice. The science that deals with the study of fossils is paleontology, while paleontologist is a person who studies fossils. Most fossils were found in the sedimentary rocks. They were from the hard part of organism's body like the woody stem, shell, bones, or teeth. Fossils can be classified as to impression or compression. Impression is also known as imprint, which are the shallow external molds left by animal with little or no organic materials present. Compression is a fossil preserved in sedimentary rock that has undergone physical compression and with more organic material. I will show you pictures of different fossils, and I want you to classify them as to impression or compression. Here is the first picture. The correct answer is compression. Here's another picture. The correct answer is impression. The third picture. Alright, the correct answer is impression. And the last picture that we have. And the correct answer is compression. Good job, everyone. Keep it up. Paleontologists use several methods in determining the age of the fossil. This includes the relative dating and the carbon-14 dating. Relative dating is a method used to determine the age of the rocks by comparing them with the rocks in the other layer. Fossils found at the bottom layer are assumed to be older than those on the upper layer. Carbon-14 dating is a method used to determine the age of rocks using the decay or the radioactive isotope present in rocks. Scientists were able to develop the geologic timescale out of the examination of layers of rocks and dating fossils. Geologic timescale shows the major events in the Earth's history and the appearance of various kinds of organisms in a particular period of time. It is divided into four, namely Precambrian, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. Era is the largest division and it is further divided into period. I want you to analyze the geologic timescale carefully and try to answer the following questions. Here we go with the first question. Which among the representative life assumed to be the oldest organism? That's great! The trilobites. The first body of fossils of trilobites appeared in the early Cambrian period, about 540 million years ago, Here's the last question. In what era do you think the present-day humans first appeared on Earth? Very good. The present-day humans first appeared on Earth during the Cenozoic era. One way scientists determine the age of fossils is by checking the amount of radioactive carbon-14 in the fossil. Every living thing is made up of carbon-14. So once an organism dies, the carbon-14 in its body starts to decay to form nitrogen-14. The rate of this decay is constant. For example, the half of the remaining carbon-14 breaks down every 5,730 years. And now, let us have another activity. We will determine the age of fossils using the carbon-14 dating. I have here a picture showing 3 different fossils, such as a bone fossil, a shell fossil, and a petrified wood fossil. From the information earlier, I want you to compute the age of the fossils by using the carbon-14 dating. Are you ready? Alright, let us check your answers. The bone fossil is about 5,730 years old. Very good. While the shell fossil is about 11,460 years old. Very good. And the last fossil, the petrified wood fossil, is about 17,190 years old. Well done, everyone! And now, I want you to reflect on this situation. You have been given an opportunity to travel in the future for several hundred years. Use your imagination to think of an organisms that might be living on Earth in that particular time, considering the environmental disturbances, calamities, and changes that occurred. You can write your answer on a piece of paper. Yes, you are right. The organisms that might be living on that particular time in the future are those farm and domestic animals, because they will be properly taken care of and probably be able to adapt the changing environment, while those wild animals will probably not be able to survive in the wild. Let us do one more activity for you to better understand our lesson. Complete the graphic organizer by supplying the importance of fossil records. Write your answer in a separate piece of paper. The importance of fossils are as follows. Fossils provide evidence that organisms are not the same as today. Fossils show a progression of evolution. Fossils can give insight into how prehistoric plants obtain food, reproduce, and even how they behave. Fossils can be classified as to impression and compression. The age of the fossils can be determined through the use of geologic time scale, relative dating, and carbon dating. And that wraps up our lesson for today. I am pretty sure that you already know and you already gained knowledge of our lesson today about fossil records as evidence for evolution. Are you up for another challenge? Let us now have a post-test. Directions. Read each item carefully and choose the letter that corresponds to the correct answer. Number 1. Which of the following phrases best describes the process of evolution? Letter A. The change of simple to complex organisms. Letter B. The development of characteristics in response to the need. Letter C. Change of population through time. Letter D. The change of population solely in response to natural selection? Let us proceed to number 2. Fossils are the remains and traces of organisms. Infer from your own understanding on where to find the richest source of fossils. Letter A. Along a rocky walls. B. In a fossilized tree sap. Letter C. In a coal pit mousse. Letter D. Within the sedimentary rock strata. Number 3. Paleontologists use several methods in determining the age of the fossils. Which of the following method used to determine the age of the rocks by comparing them with the rocks in the other layer? Is it letter A, relative dating, or letter B, carbon-14 dating, letter C, geologic time scale, or letter D, fossil records? Number 4. The tooth fossil of Megalodon found in Bohol last July 2020 is an example of what type of fossil? A. Impression fossil. B. Compression fossil. C. Fossil fuel. D. Relative dating. Number 5. The following is the importance of fossil records except A. Fossils provide evidence that organisms are not the same as of today. B. Fossils show a progression of evolution. Letter C. Fossils do not show any evidence for evolution. Letter D. Fossils can give insight into how prehistoric plants obtain food, reproduce, and even how they behave. And now, let us check your answers. Number 1. C. Number 2, D. Number 3, A. Number 4, B. And number 5, C. I hope that you got a higher score compared to your previous. Learning is not equated and measured by numbers only. The processing time is equally important.
Always remember, learning science is amazing. Thank you and God bless.